DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, especially yourself, to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. Then we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one framework, one way of living, one approach. And there's actually a lot of ways of living, a lot of approaches that we expand into here. But we put all this under one umbrella, this daily masterclass right here and everything that I just mentioned. And it is all called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is going to ask a question. I'm going to pose some scenarios to you, and you can check yourself for what I'm going to talk about here today. Is, are you allergic to accountability? Now, before I go into this, let me tell everybody to have a text message on where I want you to text me and tell me the most valuable insight that you got from today's masterclass. What's the best idea you got here today? What's something that you heard here today that really is going to spark maybe some change, spark an alteration in your actions or a change in your thinking? Tell me what that is. My number, where you can text me, is 305-384-6894. Normal text messaging rates apply. Now, once you text me there, not only will you be able to engage with me directly, I do spend time every day replying to my texts, you will also be in my texting community, which means you're going to be a recipient of my daily motivation text message, which I send out every single day to everybody in my texting community. So even if you don't have a particular question or comment about anything you heard here today, just text me and say hello right now, and you'll be in my community, which means you will receive my daily motivation text, next one that comes out whenever, it depends on whenever you text me. So you'll get the next one, and you'll get one every single day thereafter. So this topic here today, are you allergic to accountability? Now, we talked accountability on, I talked about it in my books all the time, and we talked about it on several episodes of this show. And I want to refer you to a few of those here before we go any further. In episode number 1884, I talked about Black self-accountability and the wave of social justice, I guess that we're calling it, that's been going on over the last couple of years. I talked about how just Black people ourselves need to make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable. In episode number 1793, I told you about holding yourself and others accountable without beating yourself up. How can you hold yourself accountable without making yourself feel bad about what maybe you haven't done or what you did do that you didn't want to do? Episode 1385, earning your right to hold people accountable. In episode number 765, we talked about closing your accountability gaps. And in episode 688, how to hold yourself accountable without a coach or a trainer. Now, accountability, I gave an entire section to in my book, Work on Your Game. Also, in my book, Mirror of Motivation. I also talk about it in my book, The Third Day. Now, since I've mentioned it in so many of my books, you'll probably think it's pretty important, right? Accountability is very important when we talk discipline, when we talk you showing up every day and doing the work, or just being consistent in your output, consistent in your performance, and being someone who can be counted on for your delivery. Then you have to have some level of accountability with yourself, let alone accountability you'll receive from another person. So today, I'm going to ask some questions here where you can check yourself and measure yourself and see, are you pushing yourself away from the accountability that would actually do you some good? And this accountability can be accountability from within, that means self-accountability, or it could be accountability coming from another person. But either way, you have to have a way of holding yourself accountable to make sure that you deliver on your promise or deliver on your potential. So let's get into these points without further ado. Point number one, the topic once again is the question is, are you allergic to accountability? Number one, how much are you willing to point out what someone else needs to be accountable for or what someone else needs to do versus how often you point out how much you need to be held accountable? How much are you willing to hold other people accountable versus how much you are willing, and how much do you actually do hold yourself accountable? See, the thing about holding other people accountable is that you have to earn that. You have to earn your right to hold other people accountable, which again, we talked about in episode 1385. The ability to hold someone else accountable and tell someone, hey, you didn't do this right, or hey, you're not showing up, or you're not delivering the way you need to deliver, you have to earn that right. I mean, I remember playing on sports teams, and you might have a teammate, or you might see teammates who are quick to point out if somebody else on the team they didn't cover the proper defensive assignment, or they didn't box out on a free throw so the other team was able to get the rebound, or they weren't in game shape, or they were late to practice, or whatever it is. The only way anyone's going to listen to you when you're trying to hold other people accountable is if that teammate who's calling you out or pointing out your mistake or noting something that you didn't do the right way or that you did the wrong way. The only way anybody's going to listen to you, excuse me. The only way anyone's going to listen to you when you do that is if you are holding yourself accountable the same way. I mean, you can't tell your teammate, hey, make sure you box out on these free throws if you routinely don't box out on free throws. You can't call your teammate out for showing up to training camp out of shape if you show up to training camp out of shape. You can't get mad at your business partner for coming late to a meeting if you are always late to a meeting yourself. So you had to earn your right to hold other people accountable by making sure you set the example of being accountable on your own for the very thing to which you want to hold others accountable. You want to hold other people accountable, you earn that right first by setting the example. And this is something that back in the days when all of my content was basketball, I would get players who would reach out and ask me, how can they be better leaders for their teams? Players would explain scenarios along the lines of, hey, Dre, I'm a hard-working player on my team, and I take the game really serious, and I want to go somewhere in basketball, but my teammates, they seem to just be using basketball as just like a fun and games diversion. It's just a leisure activity for them. They don't take it as serious as I take it. They're not really trying to go anywhere with basketball. They're just doing it because it's available right now. And this player will continue, I want to be more of a leader on the team. I want to lead these guys and make them take the game a little bit more seriously. How can I do that? What are some things that I can say to them to get these teammates to take the game more serious? And I would always explain to players when they asked a question like this, and I got this question surprisingly often, surprisingly or not, maybe to you. And I would always tell the players, it's not about what you say to the other players on your team, because there's only, words are a dime a dozen, as we said. There's only so much you're going to get another person to want to do something just based on what you said. The number one way to lead in any organization, whether we're talking a family, a sports team, a business organization, a volunteer group, is through your example. The first way that you lead is through your example. Leadership is anything or anyone who can inspire other people to want to do more, become more, be better at what they do. And you can inspire other people to step their game up through your actions. You don't have to say anything to them. You can inspire someone to step their game up and never have a conversation with that person ever in your life. You might not even know that that person exists, but because of something that you did, it can inspire other people to want to do something, even though you and that person may never be in the same room ever in life. You will never shake hands. You may never even know that that person exists, but if they know about what you're doing, that can inspire them. That makes you a leader. So the number one way that you become a leader in life, and thus eligible to hold another person accountable, is first through your actions. You have to be doing the thing that you want to hold someone else accountable for. So if you're telling your teammates to get in shape, then you got to start it off by you being in shape. If you're telling your teammate, make sure you box out on this free throw, then you got to be a player who always boxes out on the free throw. If you're telling anyone to do X, the number one way that you will be capable of holding that person accountable is if you are already doing X. Now, I want you to understand something. A couple things I want you to understand from both perspectives. From the perspective of the person who is holding the other person accountable, meaning you want to hold someone accountable for something, the number one way to undermine your ability to hold someone else accountable is by violating what I just said. All right, so if you're not in game shape, don't get on one of your teammates for not being in game shape, because the first thing they're going to think, they're going to look at you and say, well, you're not in shape, so why are you telling me what I need to do when you're not even following your own advice? So if you want to hold someone accountable, make sure and understand that you must be doing the thing that you want everybody else to do. This is the number one step in leadership, is you lead by example first. Then once you have led by example, if you so choose, you can lead verbally and you can give fiery speeches and be a professional speaker. with the people in your organization and tell them everything they need to hear so that they step their games up. But you can lead just by example without ever being a person who gives a fiery oratory. Now, on the other side of things, as the recipient of accountability, if someone is holding you accountable, here's what I want you to understand. Here's the discipline that you had to have. That even if the person holding you accountable is not doing the thing that they're holding you accountable for, you still had to be mature enough and mentally tough enough to ask yourself, is there any truth in what they're saying about me? Not about them, but about yourself. So if one of your teammates tells you, hey, you need to get in better condition because you're not in great shape right now, and you look at that teammate and you think to yourself, the first thing you might think is, well, look, this teammate's not even in great shape, so why are they telling me to get in great shape? Even though you may be right in thinking that, and you may be 100% accurate in your assessment of the person who is attempting to hold you accountable, here's what I'm telling you to do as the recipient of that accountability is be disciplined enough to ask yourself, is there any truth in what this person is saying, even if you don't feel like that person is qualified to be holding you accountable? Because sometimes this will happen. You will have people who have not done 10% of what you've done. They don't have 10% of your accomplishments, yet they offer some type of critique, some form of constructive criticism of you that is actually based in truth. And it is accurate, even though the person who's saying it doesn't have a leg to stand on in talking about that thing because they haven't come close to doing it, but they're talking about you. You got to be disciplined enough to be able to extract the truth from some constructive criticism, even if it comes from a source that is not super credible to be even offering anyone criticism in the first place. So this is your job. And why do I say that this is your job? Because listen, you can extract some useful feedback or a great idea from anyone, anywhere, anytime. You just have to be open-minded enough and disciplined enough to be able to sort through the nonsense that you might get from a person who might not even be that high of a quality of an individual. It might be as we talked about in episode 1058, this might be a 2 minutes person offering you something that might actually be useful. If you pay attention to what this person is saying, there might be something useful in there if you were listening, even though this person doesn't really have the credibility to be saying anything to you. If you have listened to this show for some time, you've heard me tell the story of how I first actually got into entrepreneurship. I was selling these $4.99 basketball training programs straight to the audience of basketball players who were watching me on YouTube. Now, where did I get the idea to sell these programs? It was from a random commentator. I have no idea who this person is or was at the time, and they just said, "Hey, Dre, look, you're making all these videos on how to play basketball. Why don't you just take all the workouts that you do and just write them down and let other people follow it?" I have no idea who this person was. I doubt that this person was even an entrepreneur. They were probably a 13 to 18-year-old basketball player who just liked watching my basketball videos and wanted some more clear strategic instruction on how to practice basketball. I looked like the person who had the information, so they offered me a suggestion on how I could better help them. They weren't giving me this information as some entrepreneur who knew how to make $1,000 a minute and told me, hey, here's how you do it. They were just offering something that could help them, and it was actually a good idea. I was probably better at basketball than this person, probably knew more about business than this person, probably older than them, probably had a lot more experience. This person really didn't have any serious credibility, so to speak, to be offering me any kind of business or basketball advice. But because I was disciplined enough to listen to what this person was saying, and I wasn't listening because I was trying to extract business advice from them, I was listening just because I was and always have been and still am the type of person who will engage directly with my audience. I was listening to what they had to say. And they said something, I said, you know what, that's a damn good idea. I don't care where it came from. A good idea is a good idea, folks. All right, if you get a good idea from somewhere, it's a good idea. If someone offers you constructive criticism and it's true, all right, it doesn't matter who said it. It doesn't matter if that person, they can criticize themselves the same way they're criticizing you. We're not talking about them, we're talking about you. If there is some truth behind it, then you gotta be disciplined enough and mentally tough enough to accept it. So here in this first point, remember that your ability as the person holding someone else accountable, you, on your end, you must earn that ability to hold someone else accountable. You can't just go holding people accountable for stuff if you aren't doing it yourself. However, when someone else holds you accountable, they don't have the same rules, okay? So the rules are not the same for everybody. We over here at Work on Your Game, and you who's listening to this, listen, we play the game on a different level. Meaning everything you tell another person to do, you better be doing it first. setting the example. But if someone else tells you to do something, they don't have to be doing it first. They can just offer it to you. And if they're right, they're right. So understand that we're not holding everybody to the same standard that we're holding ourselves to, because not everybody wants to play the game on the level that we're playing the game on. Is everybody following me here? So you expect more of yourself than you expect of everybody else. There's nothing wrong with pointing out other people's shit as long as you talk to yourself the same way. But somebody else can point out your shit even if they're not doing it at all. Point number 2. Today's topic again is, are you allergic to accountability? Number 2, do you use victimhood as a shield to avoid accountability? When someone holds you accountable, in other words, even if what they're offering you, if their form of accountability is just offering you a very sharp criticism, because a lot of times when people's way of holding you accountable is just to criticize you. It's just to point out something that you did wrong or some way that you messed up, or just offering some nasty feedback about you or something that you take as nasty feedback. Question is, when someone does that to you, do you immediately go into defense mode? Do you immediately put yourself in a position where maybe you start either explicitly or in your own head criticizing that person because they had the audacity to call you out? And listen, maybe what they called you out on is true. Maybe their criticism is based in truth. Many times in life, as human beings, we retard our own progress by preferring the praise that holds us back in the place of the criticism that could do us well. Many times in life, and Seneca talked about this in his Letters from a Stoic. If you've never read that book, you should read it. And one of the things that Seneca talks about, and this was centuries ago, Seneca was saying these things, that many of us as humans, we will listen all day to people who will tell us how great we are and give us all this praise and tell us how amazing we are because it serves our ego and it serves our vanity. But the person who could actually help us the most is not the person telling us how great we are, is the person who will criticize us, the person who will offer constructive feedback, the person who will let us know, hey, you need to be held accountable for this because you are not living up to your end of the bargain. That person can actually help us way more than the person who is kissing our ass and telling us how amazing we are. But because of the human ego that we have and the vanity that we all have on different levels, some more than others as humans, we usually will lean more towards the person who's telling us all the great things about us, even though none of those great things that they're telling us is helping us get any further. But the criticism will help us a lot if we were disciplined, confident, and mentally tough enough to listen to it, heed it, find the truth in it, and then actually act on it. So when someone holds you accountable in the form of a critique, a criticism, ridicule, attack, whatever it happens to be, do you immediately go into defense mode and criticize them back just so you can save face and defend your ego? Or do you look into it and say, wait, is there some truth in here? Maybe this person, even though they don't have 10% of my accomplishments, even though they don't know anything about, they don't really know the game that I'm in, even though they don't know much about what they think they know about, is there some truth in this critique that they're offering me? Because if there's some truth in it, then your job is to extract that truth. It's kind of like a person who grabs some, who goes out, you're a farmer, and you grow your vegetables, and vegetables come off of the plants, and then you got to extract the part that you're going to sell, the part that people actually eat, from the part that you got to throw away. That's your job. It's just like the human body. You eat food, the human body takes in the parts that are actually the actual nourishment, the actual vitamins and minerals and the things that will actually help the human body grow and function, and then it extracts through the digestive system everything else. Your job is to extract the usefulness from anything that someone is offering you, even if it comes in a package that you don't like. Like, where's the usefulness in this? Let's find the usefulness, and then we'll get rid of the rest. The last that I heard, not the last that I heard, but the last time I heard about Bill Gates, aside from his things he'd been saying about the COVID virus, but the last I heard about Bill Gates other than that was that he was figuring out a way, or maybe he already figured it out, and any of you who follow him can help me out. He figured out a way to take human waste, human feces, extract drinking water from it, and then be able to provide drinking water to parts of the world that don't have it. Because Bill Gates has, or had, identified that a lack of access to drinking water was one of the biggest health issues that a whole lot of the world had. So he figured out a way to extract from human waste actual drinking water. And then I saw a video of him. He was sitting on stage and he was talking to someone, and he had a cup of this water that allegedly that was extracted from human waste, and he was sitting there drinking it as if it came straight from Poland Spring. But the whole point is, he extracted the usefulness from something that, for the most part, we would see as not useful material, waste material. Criticism from a qualified person is a form of accountability, everybody. So when someone criticizes you, that is their way of holding you accountable. And even if the person is not credible, even if the person does not have a resume, even if you never even heard of this person, there still might be something useful in there. So your job is to be, again, mentally tough enough and discerning enough to understand, all right, this person's throwing a criticism at me, this random Facebook commentator who you have no idea who they are. All right, be discerning enough and disciplined enough to be able to throw away the negative snarkiness of the comment, and then ask yourself, all right, is there anything useful in here? Because it might be, if you're paying attention. All right, the people who are telling you how great you are all day, every day, they may not be as great of a source of ideas as the person who is telling you how you need to step your own game up. In sports, we get criticized all the time. You're an athlete, you've been criticized plenty of times by your coaches, trainers, teammates, and opponents. When you were growing up, hopefully you had some parents who will hold you accountable. They might not call it holding you accountable, but anytime they offered you something, they were trying to show you, hey, there's something that you're not doing here, something that you don't know here, something you're not paying attention to here that you need to know about. Now, maybe you agreed, maybe you disagreed, but their purpose, I would hope, for most of our parents, was trying to hold you accountable and help you see something that you otherwise couldn't see. Now, maybe they weren't that great at communication, but I think that was the aim that most of our parents had, hopefully. Point number 3, today's topic, once again, is, are you allergic to accountability? Number 3, is your improvement focused internally or externally? What does this mean? I'm gonna tell you an open secret. Most of your future improvement is based on internal change. Meaning the person that you are today versus the person you want to be 5 or 10 years from now, or even 6 months from now. The difference between those two people is not, for the most part, about anything external that changes. It's really about a whole bunch of internal changes. Even if there are external changes that you would like to make, let's say you want to have bigger muscles, or you want to lose a certain amount of weight, or you want to trade in the crappy old car you're driving for a brand new luxury car. You want to move from this neighborhood to a nicer neighborhood. You want to go from making this much money to making 5 times this much money. Even though those may be your goals, in order for you to reach those goals, it is not a whole bunch of external things that need to change. It's some internal things that need to change. Most of your future improvement is going to be internal adjustments that you make in the form of mindset, strategy, self-image, self-accountability, overall growth. All those things happen internally. It is not based on the changes that you want to make moving forward, are not going to be based on, even though these may be a part of it, they're not based on you getting a new website, making more money, or some government group, some industry, or some organization changing in such a way to benefit you. Even though those things may occur, those are not what makes long-term change in your life. Long-term change in life always starts and ends on the inside. The changes that you're going to need to make require accountability. And the only way you can change internally is admitting that such change is necessary. See, many people right now, let's take all the people in the world right now who have goals. Not everybody has goals, but let's just focus on the people who do have goals in life. The majority of those people who have goals, if you ask them, if they just talked about their goals and what they need to do to get to their goals, you ask people, what needs to change for you to get to your goals? Most of the time, most of those conversations, I would even venture to guess, most of the people listening to my voice right now, if you were to ask yourself, what needs to change for you to get to the goals that you have right now in your life, the places you want to get to in your life, most of the answers will be based on externalities. All right, I need to make more money. I need to make more phone calls. I need to sign up more clients. I need to go to the gym more often. I need to perform at a higher level so I can get more playing time from my coach. I need to get a scholarship to go play in college. I need to go play basketball overseas. I need to put out more content. I need to make sure my website is updated. You notice how all these things are things that are outside of ourselves. And let me be clear. All of these things that I just mentioned as examples All of these could be part of the change that you want to make. Some of these might be the actual goal that you have. One of your goals might be, I need a new website. One of your goals might be, I need new leads. I need new clients. I need to make more money. I need to get a job. I need to sign a contract. I want to go meet my future husband or wife. All of these things that are external things, they very well may be the exact goals that you have, or at least stepping stones towards those goals. But I want you to understand something. In order for you to achieve these things, to make the money, to meet your future husband and wife, to start your family, to get the job that you want, to double your income, to get the nice luxury car that you've been having up on your vision board for the last 2 years, internal changes are what is actually going to get you to it. It's not external changes. It's the internal changes that will get you there. And to make those internal changes, you must be personally accountable and hopefully have some other people, another set of eyes that can help hold you accountable, such as a coach, a mentor, an accountability partner, someone, somewhere that can help hold you accountable. And that accountability could be as simple as you having a mirror held up to yourself so you can look at yourself and say, okay, you know what? Even though I want all these things that are on the outside, here's some changes I need to make on the inside to get them. Because we know the 3-step process to achievement in life, right? It is be, do, and have. Many people focus on the doing part. Those are the externals. But they never focus on the being part. Who am I as a person? How do I see myself? What is my energy? How am I showing up every single day? When that changes, your results change. And that's what the Mirror of Motivation is about. If you haven't read the Mirror of Motivation, the link is down below in the description. I'll give you the book free. It's covered shipping. Is at mirrorofmotivation.com. And my book, The Third Day, is all about who you are being in the moments when the things that you're doing are not quite working, or the things that you're doing have been working so much that you're not quite so excited about doing the work anymore, or just the newness is worn off and there's work to be done and you're just kind of indifferent about it. All of these are part of your being. When you change who you're being, then what you're doing automatically changes and your results change. That's just the way that it works in life. This formula is undefeated. Let's recap today's class, which is, are you allergic to accountability? Are you resistant to self-accountability? Number one, how much are you willing to point out what someone else needs to be held accountable for versus how much you're holding yourself accountable? Now the rule is, okay, this is a contradictory rule. The rule is when you hold others accountable, you better be doing the thing that you're telling them to do. But when someone else holds you accountable, they don't have the same rule. They don't have to hold themselves accountable to the same thing that they're telling you to do. Why? Because we hold ourselves to a higher standard than to which we hold anybody else. Number two, do you use victimhood as a shield to avoid accountability? When someone holds you accountable, even via a sharp criticism or a poorly communicated critique, do you criticize that person for having the audacity to call you out? Do you immediately go on the defensive, or do you try to find the truth inside of it? Just like Bill Gates found the water inside of human waste. Number three, is your improvement focused internally or externally? Open secret, everybody. Most of your future improvement is not based on anything external, like a new car, a new house, a new job, or more money. It's based on internal change, such as mindset, strategy, self-image, self-accountability. It is not on a website, some government or industry or organization changing in a way that benefits you, even though that may happen. The way that you make permanent, lasting, and serious change in your life is by changing your internal environment, which automatically will alter your external environment. Now, if you're looking for someone who can help coach you, someone who can help show you how to make those internal changes for your personal and professional growth and development, to make sure that you actually maximize yourself and make the most of your potential, get the highest ROI on your opportunity that we have here called life, then you may be a good candidate for my 3rd Day Mastermind. It's the only place I offer direct one-on-one coaching. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com/call. The link is down below in the show description. You sign up for a free Zoom call with me. We'll hop on and talk about where you're at, where you want to go, and how we get there, and I'll tell you how I can help you do it. That's at workonyourgameuniversity.com/call. Send me a text. Tell me the best insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.